Hello, a very warm welcome once again to our InGear Motorsport live stream. You join us tonight at the Suzuka circuit, and I'm joined once again in the commentary box with Charlotte. Welcome back.
Hi.
Making a bit of a thing of this now, aren't we?
Date night.
This is the new date night, the new normal. So this is going to be round one of our new GT4 Mini Series Championship. So we've got a mix of our regular drivers and some of the newer comers to our Discord community that have joined, and they'll be taking part, some of them for the first time tonight. Back to our usual format though, so we'll take a look at timings in just a second. But as Assetto Corsa Competizione recently launched the GT4 DLC for the game, the drivers were really keen to jump straight into that. So we thought we'd host a GT4 Mini Series over 4 separate rounds. And as I said, the first one tonight is at Suzuka in Japan. Fantastic circuit. And I think we should be in for some quite good racing and a bit of weather, I think. Danny P's been up to his old tricks again with the server.
Always good for the first round.
So you join us then off the back of our charity race just a couple of weekends ago. Charlotte, how are you feeling about the aftermath of all that and how it all went?
Yeah, good. There was such a big build up to it, wasn't there? So yeah, I think afterwards we was all quite relieved that it went really well. Everyone kind of made it. I think we've all said this, it was a shame that Danny P had those technical issues through there, but actually everyone really, really enjoyed it. And I think it was a perfect way to kind of go, okay, kind of the end of semi-lockdown, going into this new sort of championship with the GT4 cars. I think it was the perfect way. And it's really timely that we did it because it's the British Red Cross's 150th anniversary this week as well, so it all kind of worked out quite well, I think. So
yeah, thank you once again for me on that front, but we want to get on with tonight, so we'll take a look at the timetable so you know what's coming up tonight and the format for round one of our GT4 mini series. Qualifying has just started, so we'll be diving into that in a minute just as it starts heating up, so we can see who's going to be where. And I think there's already over 20 drivers in the grid, so that's looking really cool.
Yeah, it's looking really, really good.
So our usual format then, we do this live every Tuesday under normal circumstances, and we've got 2 races for you tonight, so do remember to come back for the second one. But the first one will be somewhere around 7:50 p.m. We're running slightly behind, but we'll do our best to keep that on track here. 2-3 minutes behind. Yeah. Qualifying just started, like I say. After that, there'll be a small break. The drivers have a chance to practice, or we'll take a quick break for 5-10 minutes. And then we'll head off into qualifying 2. Both qualifying sessions are 15 minutes. So qualifying 2 around 8:35, and then race 2 will then come around 8:55 p.m. And everything's usually wrapped up somewhere around 9:30. So that's what's coming up tonight. As I say, qualifying is already underway, so we best jump inside the game and see who's doing what and what's going on.
I'm already scribbling my notes down, so.
And just to make it hard for us, because it's GT4s, a number of the guys have switched to different cars. Of course, they're all different cars, they're GT4s, but different brands, different manufacturers. So we'll be doing our best to keep on top of that. Luckily, though, the Shiba Garage team have updated their liveries for the McLaren 570S that they're using. And you'll see the little Shiba dog on there. So fans of Shiba Garage will see them in action. They've got a new driver with them this weekend. Not new to the server, but new team member, D. Murray. David joined us a little while ago, maybe 3-4 weeks ago, something like that. Friend of Neil's, one of the 3 Scots that we have in the server actually. So he's now racing under the Shiba Garage banner. And the way that the scoring will work today is there is a team championship as well for the few teams that we have, so they can have a bit of an extra competition. So we've got Fella's Garage in there, Shiba Garage, and Team Vega Sim Performance, which is the Stallmans. We may or may not have an entry from West Midlands with Heath. Heath fans will be pleased to know that he's racing again.
Back.
He's back once again. And just a small note at this point to say that as you're watching this around different channels across the internet, we stream this live on a couple of YouTube accounts, Twitch and Facebook. Feel free to comment and chat and say hi, and Charlotte will do our best to say hello back. We've already had hello from Mark. Mr. MM Photography is here. Hello, happy anniversary for yesterday. I think you must have misheard something there. It was the Red Cross's anniversary, but we'll take it.
Oh, yeah.
So he's watching over on Twitch, but like I say, we're watching this, streaming this in a number of places. Right, let me start actually looking at some of the racing going on the streams.
Yeah, absolutely. I've just seen that one of the Shiba cars has actually had a little bit of a moment a few corners ago, so the guys are actually pushing really, really quite full on already, and luckily there's quite a lot of run-off out there, so all this on this track.
Some corners there's a lot of runoff, other corners it's just gravel.
Yeah.
Gravel or grass. As you watch R. Stallman cutting through part of the S's there. It's a really cool place, Suzuka. I was lucky enough to actually go and race there a number of years ago. There's actually an entire amusement park on site called Mototopia. So you see the Ferris wheel in the background at times, which is part of that. And this game being as accurate as it is, that is all modelled in there. At the moment, it's D. Stallman with a time on the board in pole position, so a 2:12.7. It's actually hard to tell what sort of weather conditions we've got looking at the screen through our commentary box version, but I do know that it's been quite likely to rain in the forecast. Just like the real world, you can't actually fully control the weather, you can just give it a nudge in the direction towards what you want. And for Danny P, who controls the server, that is mostly rain. So there's R. Stallman then in the Aston Martin race routine. Quite a popular car, the Aston Martin, for the GT4s. If you've been following this for a little while, the GT4 car is essentially the sort of entry level into GT racing, or would feed into the GT3 cars, the bigger, faster cars that we're normally using. So not quite so quick, but it does mean that guys can actually run closer together and kind of go wheel to wheel and all that stuff that we love to watch a little bit easier. There's Steez in the KTM Crossbow GT car. Very cool looking car, looks like a small little prototype. So the KTM going across your screens, heading into the famous 130R corner, the very fast left-hander, which in an F1 car is just about flat and something to behold. Not quite so in these, it's more of a brake and a downshift in a GT4 car. Into the final bus stop style chicane. And he'll be posting his time on the board very shortly. Steve's one of the guys I know has been putting a lot of laps in this week, so I'll be looking forward to seeing what he can do tonight. So's Danny Price, A. Clipson and Kid. They've all been putting plenty of laps in on the server throughout the week. We can see who's doing what thanks to our Discord. So Steve's in at 6th at the moment. Dan O'Brien managed to make it in as well, so we missed him a little bit. We didn't have the best of runs and finished the race last time out, but he's here. Once again, classic Dan O'Brien fashion, he's not had any practice for Suzuka.
He's a busy guy.
He's a very busy guy, and I think he pretty much just got home, maybe just quickly grabbed some food and headed straight on. As did Mike Curran. Curran returning back to race with us again. He's... do you know what? I'm not actually sure what car Curran took in the new GT4 series. We'll have to see if we can find him.
There's been a lot of changes, hasn't there, and trying to keep up with it over the last
30
days. Yeah, there's been a lot of Aston versus McLaren kind of discussions and things like that. So I'm just frantically writing down at the moment just to see what everyone committed with at the end. So I think that's the beauty of this game as well, is you can test in all the different cars and see what suits you, what suits your drive style. What we have noticed as well, though, there's a lot more of this teaming up happening throughout these series. So the way that it's going to operate is we've got 3 members in the Sheila Garage team, which is absolutely fine. But what we're doing is taking the points from the first 2 out of that team. But what that does give is them is a really good sort of advantage in terms of setup and things like that. And the guys testing different setups up and seeing what works.
Yeah, like I say, a few of them have been on the week, so they'll have been developing that. That's Steve Murray on your screen, running a bit wide, coming out of Spoon Corner, I believe that was. Heading onto the back straight again towards 130R. So it turns 13, 14, now into 15 into 130R. By the way, if you follow racing, you'll know that 130R is quite a famous corner. But you might wonder what the name's for. The name 130R simply means that in its original form it was 130 metres in radius. A quite literal name for that turn, and a few Japanese circuits do that. Fuji does the same. Right, where are we on the screens then? So you can see that up on the leaderboard now then. It's D. Stallman currently on pole by almost a second, so very fast already, taking to the GT4s, as well as he does with his Porsche GT3, it would seem. Curran doing well though, to be up there in 2nd place at the moment, followed by R. Stallman, who is D. Stallman's father. So our German team, Vega Sim Performance there. Then we've got a public driver who's not part of our main group, but the server is open. Anyone can join, provided they've got a high enough safety rating. In 3rd, Legio, I'm going to go with for him. Like I say, he's new. Dan O'Brien, then in 5th. Very good, actually, so far for Dan and Janetta. That's good to see. 2:14.2. I would say by these lap times, it's a pretty dry circuit. as I say, it's they can sometimes be really fine rain that doesn't show up when you're watching in this sort of view, but it would sharpen the cockpit. In fact, we'll get a cockpit view in just a moment, but quickly just stay with the top 10. So O'Brien, Rainholz, Schnooz, Heath in 8th. Heath fans will be pleased to see he's in the top 10. Steve's in 9th, Kidd in 10th, and then Price 11th. Let's go and take a look and ride on board with somebody so you can get a better look at the Suzuka circuit. As I say, if you're just joining us, you're joining us for round 1 of our GT4 mini-series. The drivers are in qualifying, just under 4 minutes to go, and we're riding on board with Neil Kidd at the moment in his McLaren. So the McLaren GT4 car. A little bit less aero on these cars and a little bit higher up, so they don't run as close to the ground, means they can use a bit more curve. You'll see them bouncing around a bit more on some of the curves, and with less aero as well. They can't carry as much corner speed, so it can make the car a little bit, you could say, more fun to drive. You can afford to slide them around a tiny bit more. It's still not fast to do so, but drivers certainly will see potentially a bit more movement than you would with the GT3s. That's the 130R corner. So the Kidd coming to the end of the lap at the moment, so we'll go to ride on board and we'll take you through a full flying lap of the circuit. No pressure, Neil. You've got potentially commentator's curse coming down on you right now. Not that you can hear me. So there's the Ferris wheel in the background, as I said. We're coming across the start-finish line into turns 1 and 2, which are quite literally known as first turn. Very literal with the Japanese when they were naming the corners of this track. There are a few famous ones though. Car coming out the pits then as we go into turn 1, double right-hander. Got to make sure you get the car stopped and slow it down enough to get your apex, not run too wide on the way out here. And then arguably one of the most famous sections of any course in the world, the S's. Left, then right, then left, then right again. Something that's really awesome to watch in a Formula 1 car where of course they have lots of downforce. Climbing uphill a little bit as we head towards this section of the track. And then we're going to have a very long left-hander coming up in just a moment, which is known as Dunlop curve. And that heads into a very tricky corner called Degner curve. You won't see the braking point too clear. As he comes around this left, he almost immediately has to brake and then pitch right into the Degner 1. Here you go. And then we have Degner 2 at the bottom, so it's almost used to be one big corner, it's now 2 separate ones, but not much room for error there. If you go wide at the end of the first part, you are in the gravel. And then we come into what is known as Kobayashi hairpin, affectionately by Formula 1 fans, based on the 2010 Grand Prix where Kamui Kobayashi overtook 5 different drivers at that hairpin, rather aggressively at times. So that corner named after him. And then we now begin the long right-hander heading around into the next corner before we start getting closer to that famous 130R. So that was Spoon Curve that we're just heading through now, and then as I say, we'll head on to the straight. Suzuka is one of few tracks in the world that actually runs a figure of 8 format. So it's hard to see it from in car, but actually parts of the track do cross over each other and go underneath a bridge. So that's, like I say, quite a unique thing about this. The Fiorano circuit is one of the other notable ones, but yeah, this is the only one on the F1 calendar, you can say for sure. And then we're coming up to the final chicane, Casio Triangle, but it's also known as a bus stop style chicane, designed to slow cars down. They were getting a bit too fast coming onto the main straight back in the early days of the circuit. And here we go then across the line. What's he going to do? Looking quite good actually. 2:14.8. So still holding in 10. Points for the championship tonight will go down to 10. So let's go and have a look at the standings a bit more so and see what's going on. A few guys in the pits. You won't be able to get back out and do another run now. If you're on a lap when the timer runs down, you can still finish it. So when it goes to 0, it's not quite over yet. Still Stallman at the moment. And then Curran second, still a 9/10 difference. So these Stallmans really found something over our Stallman, Charlotte, I think, lately, wouldn't you say? They used to be a lot closer.
Yeah, absolutely. We've noticed that over the last sort of couple of race weekends, haven't we? That there seems to have just been a gap that's been edging with Dom sort of just edging forward that little bit further at the moment. Don't know what it is. We don't know. Roland is probably going to find a bit of time at some point. It's just might have spent more time in the GT4 cars with Dom. I don't know.
Yeah. You can see a number of drivers still on their final lap, so it could still change for a couple of minutes yet. just while people finish. There's some cars running off into the gravel. I think that might be Heath in the background there. He's in an Audi now, normally in a Bentley. Curran in an Aston Martin. So it's Aston Martin 1, 2, 3 at the moment. Then Heath actually just gone quicker to pull himself up into 4th. Very close to R. Stallman as well, within the hundredths of a second. When you see a little P next to people's name, that means they're in the pits. But the ones that don't have a P could potentially still be lapping, like Curran is at the moment. So you're watching Curran, the closest man to pipping Stallman to pole. So we'll be interested to see what he can do with this lap. You notice in the top of your screen that it's green in the top left. That means he's currently quicker than his previous laps, but it's fluctuating. So he could still go faster. Here we are. He's coming almost half a tenth faster as he runs up towards 130R at the moment. So he could still do something, but I don't think he's going to find 9 tenths in the last few corners. But let's just ride to the end of this lap, and then we'll do the full read after the drivers have a chance to catch their breath. Curran then through the chicane for the final time. Let's see if he can go faster. It looks like he's going to by a couple tenths. That'll be good for bringing the gap down. He's nearly crossing the line. Yes, he's gone 2 tenths faster. Okay, right, full qualifying readout in just a moment, but here's a quick ad for our Discord server. Hello ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to Suzuka Circuit for race night and round 1 of the GT4 mini series for InGear Motorsport. So the drivers have just finished qualifying. We're about to start a 30-minute race. D. Stallman once again very fast out there, but first time in the GT4 car, looking very impressive. M. Curran doing really well up in second. He went quicker just at the end there, so he's 7 tenths off Stallman at the moment. Then it's much closer between 3rd, 4th and 5th, literally tenths separating them. So Ronan Stallman 3rd, Heath 4th. Then we've got Reinhold's 5th, DTR 6th, Manzanek 7th, D. O'Brien 8th, Charlotte laughing at me trying to pronounce names now, Clark in 9th, Price in 10th, Kidd in 11th, Stees 12th, Murray 13th, Pfab 14th, Muller 15th, Nichols 16th, Mayer 17th, Sharman 18th, Clemson 19th. I think Clemson might have a little bit of an issue there, so we'll find out what that was later. Jaboulet 20, Mavers 21, and rounding out the grid on the back row is Houston. Quite a lot of Aston Martins out there, you can see. The drivers now then beginning their formation period before they start the race. This is the first of 2 30-minute races tonight, so do stick around for the other one once this one's over. So at this point in time, the drivers have a small HUD on their screen that's telling them whether to speed up or slow down, so they should stay relatively level. They've got a couple of corners to go, and it's a rolling start in GT racing like this, so the guys will get to the start-finish line. When the lights go green, they can then put pedal to the metal, and we'll be racing for round 1. Charlotte, who are you looking forward to seeing in this? Who do you think might win?
I'm really looking to see Heath, because I think that was a really strong performance. I'm also really looking to see Dan O'Brien, because what we have to remember is Dan's actually driven and raced the GT4 Genesis 55 in the real world, so he could help.
Perfect. Right, final approach then.
Green light. Go, go, go.
Green lights, and round 1 is go at Suzuka. Who will be big in Japan tonight then? Stallman looking like he's holding pretty level at the moment with Curran. Curran potentially going to get a nice opportunity to do something here, but we shall see. 30 minutes of racing, looking very close there between R. Stallman and Heath as well. All looking clean so far, nothing too bad in the mid-pack. A little bit of dicing going on. Heath still got a pretty good start there though. Stallman getting a good start, nice and cleanly away, D. Stallman that is, and Curran tucking in behind. Plenty of opportunity for slipstream round here at some places, so Curran may be able to hang on to the back of Stallman and find some pace, just to tow him up to that last little bit that he needs. And then R. Stallman, the sort of dark grey with green wheels car on your screen there, that's running in 3rd place at the moment behind Curran, then Heath behind him in the Audi. Lovely shot as the cars bounce over the curves there. There we go. And actually the AMG of Reinholz has actually overtaken Heath, looking at it like that. So Heath dropping to 5th. The timing board updates per sector. So that's not quite reflected just yet, but it will. There you go. It's just flipped through. Heath in the Audi just heading into the hairpin now.
Yeah, and you can see that Dan O'Brien straight away has made up 2 places into the 6th position there. So good first couple of corners for him.
Yeah, Dan O'Brien getting a very good start. He's always quite feisty at the starts. Looking very good. Nice clean lap by everybody so far as well. So we had a bit of overtaking, a few positions changed, but everyone's doing quite cleanly. As the AMG goes wide there into Spoon Curve, and the drivers accelerate away up to 130R. Extremely fast corner. It sometimes doesn't do it justice looking at it from the outside, but it's a pretty scary corner to be going through in any kind of racing car, but something like this as well. And at 130R, just after they dip under the bridge, so that's where the crossover point in the track is, and then they head into the final chicane of Casio Triangle just after that. So, as the opening lap looks like it's coming to a close, D. Stallman still leads, M. Curran in 2nd, R. Stallman in 3rd. Reinholz has dropped back behind Heath, unless he's done the move again. He has. Heath and Reinholz having a good little battle actually at the moment, so good to get a closer look at that at the moment. But it also looks like R. Stallman is lining up Curran as well. So Curran's got mirrors full of R. Stallman at the moment, so he'll be dealing with that. And all he wants to do is chase down the leader of D. Stallman. If you're watching in chat, feel free to say hello. Let us know who you think is going to win. George has commented how good Stallman's doing once again. George working behind the scenes last week for our charity race. Nice to see you back watching, George.
Now it's going to be interesting to see how defensively Curran actually stays over the next few corners and few laps, because that's ultimately going to back or give Dom a massive advantage there and back up R. Stallman and the rest of the gang. So it's just about kind of playing the long game with these races as well. Even they are technically classed as sprint races, it's 30 minutes. You do have to start thinking about the long side of things. And you can see everyone's running off really wide over that, coming out of that corner just there.
Yeah, and it's, like you said, the Spitzer there's run off, but Suzuka's not been too tarnished by the sort of modern method of just putting tarmac runoff everywhere. So it does mean that if the drivers go wide, they will be on grass in a lot of places. And when you go wide on a race car on grass, it can sometimes feel like you speed up rather than slow down. You lose control. So here we are dropping into Spoon Curve again. A really hard corner to get right, because you're approaching it at quite high speeds. And again, very easy to over brake and end up running wide and off the track, and it's really slippery out there. And it's actually slightly off camber on the exit as well, so you end up dropping out, and it just gets worse if you go too wide and too deep. So he's still not done with Reinholz yet at the moment. He's looking to try and get back past. Reinhold's going slightly defensive in 130R approach, and that's going to give Dan O'Brien a chance to get involved with these two as well. As I said, Dan had very little practice before this, so pretty much just what he had tonight. Heath looking to go left and to the bus stop chicane. Will he be able to cut back underneath? Reinhold's going defensive. Defensive quite early on in the race, I would say. Almost a bit too early for defensive driving. And ultimately loses out not 1 but 2 places there through being a little bit too defensive, I would say. That's given one of the cheaper garage cars an opportunity to get through as well. So that being Danny Price at the moment. I think our live stream version of the screen is running better than the commentary version of the stream, so apologies, it keeps cutting out. But yeah, you can see then that Danny Price also in front of Reinholz, at the moment. He definitely made a bit of a mistake at that chicane, and that cost him a few places all in one go, and just as many corners. Still though, looks pretty unchanged at the front three of the cars. Dan O'Brien having quite a good run, like we say, up into 5th now. So a very strong start from him, somewhere around 8 or 9 on the grid, and he's already made his way up to 5th. Looks like most drivers are all still running. We've got 21 cars in the race at the moment, which is fantastic to see.
Yeah, I think that's really good. First round of this mini championship, and we've got pretty much a full grid. I think that's really encouraging.
Yeah, and I know the guys have been quite excited for this. A lot of them are big fans of the GT4 cars in general. In fact, most of the main group of our Discord drivers, which everyone joins and chats to each other in, most of them have all been trying a number of different GT4 cars. So not a luxury you normally have in the real world. You can't just go and pop out of the Aston Martin and try the McLaren for a few days.
Oh, some do.
Some do. Some are lucky enough.
Yeah.
I think money comes into play a bit more there. Depends how many you can afford to go and drive. But yeah, generally you have one. So some of them being greedy and driving all of them. Dan O'Brien going a bit wide there, losing a bit of time. Clearly pushing quite hard. That's in the white and sort of mid-rear car in the wall in the background there. Was that one of the Shiba car? No, it wasn't. It was Muller potentially. Looked like a McLaren, but I think it was actually Muller's Porsche.
Yeah, it did look like a McLaren.
But nice to see Danny Price is still there. I thought he had more tales of woe to tell after the disaster he had last time out in our GT3 charity race. But so far so good, as we have approached 23 minutes on the clock. So it's a timed race. Once the timer hits 0, the drivers finish the lap they're on, and that will be the winner. Dan O'Brien in the Ginetta GT4. Charlotte started to say on the grid earlier, he's actually raced one of these in the real world. So one of the drivers in our racing tonight that has raced in the real world. We've had a couple come and go. Chrissy Palmer joined us last time, and he's raced in the real world as well. And then we've got the Stallmans, who have done a lot of different types of sim racing, which is Team Vega Sim Performance. So currently 1st and 3rd place for the Stallmans, father and son team.
I think this is going to be a really exciting battle that's going to unfold between the Ginetta and the McLaren and the AMG there. You can see that the AMG, you can argue without having the timing board properly in front, but you can see that he's looking pretty rapid behind there, and he's all over the back of Danny Price there, which is actually allowing for a bit of breathing space for Dan O'Brien there. So it's going to be interesting to see what unfolds. Yeah,
and of course I think he's actually faster, but we saw that incident that he had that's put him back, so he's a little bit out of position at the moment, trying to recover. Very easy to overdrive and overpush and then have another incident, but yeah. And Heath managed to get himself a little bit of breathing space from that pack at the moment. So the white Audi with a red stripe and the red rear quarters of it that just went past on your screens, that was Mr. K Heath, or Heathy Keefy, or Jeff Badgers, the man of many names, as we like to say it. Oh, by the way, Charlotte, Michael Curran said last time on his race that he has a setup in a steering wheel clamped to a desk under the stairs.
Yeah, I said the Harry Potter. Or you could just see, sorry to interrupt there, but you just see Dan O'Brien running a little bit wide there, and he actually did that on the same corner, same lap last time. So it's obviously somewhere where he's pushing really, really hard. Yeah,
and it's a really hard corner to brake for. It's slightly downhill, and you go a little bit wide, and very quickly you find yourself out on the marbles. But yeah, I was going to say, Michael Curran actually sent us a picture of his desk under the stairs with a wheel clamped to it, because we didn't believe him, but he does. So the car currently in 2nd is a man under the stairs racing with a wheel clamped to a desk. Such is the way that sim racing works. And he also was out for date night earlier on, so this is Charlotte and I's date night, but Michael Curran.
Family affair.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So you can see the AMG, the yellow limey colour AMG there, he's looking all over the back of Danny at the moment. He's making his car look very wide in those mirrors of Danny's there. So he's just, Danny Price is almost a bit of a sitting duck there. So hopefully there will be a move made at some point, but nothing too silly or too drastic.
What's quite interesting is Clemson and Stees, I know, were going pretty fast earlier in the week when the guys have been on practicing, and yet a bit out of position at the moment. So that's the fellas racing guys. We almost don't want to leave the Danny Price battle before it's finished.
Yeah, but, I think it's worth sticking with that for the minute. I think there's a bit of unfinished business that's about to happen.
Love that shot when they bounce over that curb there. Really, really cool. Oh, Price goes wide, and that is going to let Reinholz through. Yeah, so Reinholz gets one. We said we saw that coming for a few laps, and Price just cracked a little bit under pressure there. Speaking of Price, we've not heard from Paulina yet tonight. I wonder if she's watching or she's moved on to bigger and better things. Paulina, if you're there, say hello. For a few people watching across different channels tonight. As always, Charlotte and I do see the chat, so feel free to say hi. And if you're sitting watching thinking, I like Assetto Corsa Competizione and I have a copy of it on PC, you can come and join these race nights as well. There is a small safety limit requirement, like most of the competition servers that you see, but ours is just for fun. But yeah, keeps it nice and friendly and fair. You can come and join. The Discord link is around our various social channels. You'll also find it on InGearMotorsport.com, and you'll find a bit more information. You can come and talk to everyone. We have community votes on the tracks we want to race, and even on stuff like this, whether or not it was going to be a one-make series or a mix of cars like you see. There's Steez then on your screens amongst that gaggle of cars, the white and yellow KTM. Getting overtaken into 130R there by the Bentley of, was that a Bentley? No, McLaren. Chevrolet. Sorry, I'm not completely blind. This is my screen does go a bit pixelated in the commentary box. So Chevrolet then got through on both of those cars. You can see Steez has actually lost a couple of places in a couple of corners there. D Murray going well in 10th place, actually. That's really cool to see. He's come a long way from where he started just a month or so ago. And in true Shiba Garage fashion, he's right behind Kid. They've always got to be running near each other in one way, shape or form. And Danny Price not too far ahead of both of them. Great little battle between these. Yeah. Oh, actually getting a little bit rough there. That was D Murray on your screens giving a little bit of elbows out action to the other car alongside him, and actually ended up coming off the worst of that. I think he's just about hung on to that. Not easy to keep the car straight when you touch a bit of grass there, because it's fully loaded up on one side through these famous S's. Steve's now looking to find a way through Javule in the Chevrolet. Great to see a nice mix of manufacturers actually. I know it was Aston Martin's at the front, but the mid-pack has got a nice diverse mix of cars, Charlotte.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think you find this a little bit more so with GT4s, that it's a race within a race within a race. So it doesn't matter where you are in the pack, you've got a good sort of group around you, and obviously that's going to help you progress as well. And you see the blue flag starting to come out there, so just trying to look on the screen to see what that's related to. But that's another thing. This is actually quite a short lap. You know, sort of roughly 1 minute 12. So we may start to see people getting lapped at some point over this.
Yeah, it can happen, particularly with the gap sometimes between the front cars of the likes of Stallman and some of the others. So still seeing Steez there. That battle's kind of fizzled out a little bit. D Murray looks like he had the pace to run a bit further, though. He was in 10th a minute ago, and as we saw, lost out when that move with Javule didn't quite come off. So he'll be looking to recover a couple of places, and already actually just in the space of that straight, looked like he got a nice toe off of Steez there. And I think it's a really cool car, the little KTM.
It actually looks very close to a Lotus Bora.
Yeah, it does actually. Yeah.
At the front end, not the back. The front.
Bit of a sort of prototype look as well,
yeah.
I always think. So they come across the start-finish straight then out of the last corner, begin the thunder down to turn 1. You see a bit of action actually a couple of cars ahead. It looks like Kid is having a bit of a battle with Javule as well now. Get our race director to click a couple of cars ahead in a moment, but there's battles going on everywhere. There we are, there you go. It looks like Kid just fending him off then for another couple of corners, but Javule has moved on to the next car that he wants to fancy overtaking. See the little Shiba on the side there, that's Team Shiba Garage. And then we can see Still looking to try and get through. Good little move by Kid there.
Yeah, absolutely.
Very close then as they go into the deck now.
Very close, yeah.
Kid under a lot of pressure here from him. A lot of curve. As I said at the start, you can use more curves, especially in the massive Chevrolet. That thing loves to bounce off curves. That's just where the cars are a bit higher up. It lets them use a little bit more of it and not suffer so much. Oh, what happened there? Our screen just cut off. That's kid getting pushed a bit wide by the looks of it.
Yeah, I think it's worth sticking with this battle as well, because I think you can see that Jabule, if I say that right?
Yeah.
Yeah, love that. He's going in pretty hard on the brakes here. You mentioned it earlier that there is a slight safety rating that you ask all the drivers to adhere to, but you can actually see that kids actually start to crack under the pressure a bit there. And like you say, going into that smooth curve, yeah, it's a hard corner to brake for, and you can just see he just kind of missed his point there.
And you'll also see, particularly as the race goes on, we've got all of these little chunks of rubber around the edges of the track. They are what we call marbles. They peel off the tyres throughout the race and gather on the outside off the racing line. So when you run wide, you'll pick all of them up and they stick to your tyres, and they literally work like marbles as they go very late again across the grass, taking out a few cones for good measure, and he will try and slot back in there. Thank goodness there was an escape road there for him. A little bit close coming on.
I was going
to
say that was quite a dangerous entrance back onto the circuit there, and that's where our race director Ben in the background, he'll be looking and keeping an eye on these driving standards and start to see if any patterns forming, and he can issue warnings. I don't think that was worthy of a warning. I think it's borderline. I think maybe if it was me sat there, I probably would have put one on him, purely because we don't want to be ruining other people's races. There's a lot of time and effort that goes into this over the week, so we need to use a bit of common sense when we're out there as well.
Yeah, and you might be thinking, well, it's just a game, but actually some of these guys spend a lot of hours getting fast and trying to practice at this. Yeah, you can just see a little message going to car 32 then to calm down. Very close to taking Kid out of the race then, basically, and of course that then ruins Kid's race through no fault of his own. So particularly when it's public drivers, we do tend to keep a close eye on any misconduct. So race director just letting him know that he's watching there, which is good to see. And he can issue actual penalties if he wants, but I think, like Charlotte said, probably didn't warrant it there because there wasn't any contact made, but it was just a bit close. And rejoining looked a bit dangerous as well. We're not really talking much about the front of the grid at the moment. We see what you see on your screen. So the small timing board in the bottom left, that will now click through to the front, and we'll see who's where. You might think as well, why does it click through like that? We can't quite have the production capabilities of something like Formula One. The race director also is managing our camera angles and has to click through each one manually. So do bear with us with that. But you can now see then the battle rages on, and R. Stallman did actually get the better of M. Curran at some point. And Curran now just tucked in half a second behind him, doing his best to hang on. He'll be making the most of the slipstream. Both cars Aston Martins, and currently then Vegas in Performance 1 and 2, D. Stallman, R. Stallman.
Normal order has been resumed with that.
Yeah.
As well. Dan O'Brien got overtaken by the AMG there. I did make a little note of the time gap when we left them, which was 1.7 seconds, but you can see now that, how do you pronounce that name, Mackenzie? You're better at that than me. So Pete Reynolds has overtaken him and is now sort of about half a second or so ahead. So that price between Dan O'Brien and Danny Price is going to resume as well, which is quite a good battle earlier.
Yeah, and them two are usually in our Discord server, so they can actually chat to each other during the race, all of the main groups, and let each other know if they're on the inside, outside. Can be quite helpful as we see a car going wide across our screens there. That's a back marker as the front coming through. I think he's actually getting out of the way, which was very good. Like Charlotte says, in a half-an-hour race, you can get to the point where cars are getting lapped, which we're starting to see now.
Yeah, it's also quite a narrow circuit. I mean, that corner there you can see is obviously quite wide, but there's certain sections where there's not actually that much room. If you've got a race going on behind you, you've got to kind of move out of the way as well. You feel a bit under pressure, and he did just run a little bit wide there, so that's going to affect his tyres and his tyre temperature.
Yeah, it doesn't help. The game simulates all of that as well. It's a very accurate simulation. Great job by Kunos to develop this game. It says, of course, Competizione. Tyre modelling, the car modelling, even down to the traction control units. They've actually taken data from the real world and applied it to the game as much as possible. Teams getting so involved that they pretty much just opened up all of their data channels for Kunos to use at times because they wanted their cars to be accurately represented. So it's a lot of links to the real world as well. Still quite close, this pair then, and then you've got Heath sort of that little bit back in no man's land as such at the moment. Bit of a quiet race for Heath.
He's actually having a race a bit like Verstappen at the weekend in F1, so don't panic, Keith. Things could start to hot up for you towards the end. Last couple of laps. Hopefully, we won't be seeing punctures though, the way the F1 guys did at the weekend.
Yeah, crazy how that race finished. But it's nice to see he further up the grid after his trials and tribulations throughout the last race. Dan O'Brien dropped back a little bit as well, second and a half. Now, he was just a few tenths off of Reinholz before, like you said, when they had that battle. He's now second and a half behind. Hughesgood behind that, and Kidd was also right behind him and is now 8 seconds back. So a little bit of shifting going on, not necessarily in positions as such, but people just making mistakes and dropping back. And it might not sound that long, half an hour, but actually when you're plugged into a game or a car in real world as well as sim racing, it's pretty hard to focus for that long and not make a mistake. And unlike some games, you can't take a moment's break. When you're in the car driving, that's it. You're flat out until the checker flag drops. So it can be quite easy just to make a small little mistake and you're on the grass. Yeah, you see Kidd clearly had quite a lot of issues there and has now fallen into the grasps of Jaboulet in our great big Chevrolet on your screens there.
Yeah, and I think again this is worth sticking with, because you can see Jaboulet's all over the back of him again. He's just lining up, trying to work out where's the best place, where's any weaknesses that Kidd's showing through any corners. But Kidd's showing good pace out there. You can see there's a lot of straight line speed in this car as well.
Yeah, Aston Martin's a very good all-round car. And the McLaren, sorry, meant McLaren. McLaren's actually a very fast car. Should be having another look then as we go to the hairpin, and look who's behind him. It's Danny Price. Kidd forced to go wide then, holding the inside line. Can he keep it? Looking good so far, but he's really going for a cutback. But you saw he had a bit of a wiggle there as he couldn't get the power down, slightly offline. Car lost traction, and that's giving Kidd the gap once again, just to get a little bit of breathing space and take the stock. By the way, special shout out to the colour scheme on that car. Brown and blue. Drivers can make their own liveries in this game, as you can see from some of our ones. The game has its own basic livery editor inside the game itself, so I think that's what Jaboulet's done, as he runs wide there onto some of those marbles, but hangs onto it. Price will be seeing this with his eyes lighting up, thinking, I can get involved in this. Still 7.5 minutes on the clock. Kidd almost going a bit defensive there, potentially unnecessarily, just where he thinks Jaboulet's in the mirrors. I mean, it's a big car. Probably quite imposing in those mirrors, that big Chevrolet. So in front of them, you've got Hughesgood a little bit up the road and O'Brien in front of those. Really well done to Dan O'Brien, actually. Not had the seat time of some and just come in and really been on pace quite quickly. In the Ginetta as well, which is not as suited to this track as other cars. The Jester's very good at twisty tracks. This is quite fast. A few tight corners, but you'll see that a lot of the time is very fast flowing and long straights up to likes of 130R. So this two-way battle is about to become a three-way battle by the looks of it. Jaboulet currently in a Sheba Garage sandwich. D Murray's not far behind them, so actually Jaboulet's the car standing between the Sheba Garage boys, being 1, 2, 3 in order, which they're well known for doing.
Right, man.
They just love it so much.
Kidd's doing a really, really good job of making his car really wide. He is driving defensively, but he's not sort of slowing down that pace too much. You can sometimes find that if you're having to drive super defensively everywhere, that your times just drop off a cliff. But, you know, he's managing to kind of keep his car wide where he needs to, but also push on as well. So he's doing a really, really strong drive by Kidd.
There we are then, round the right-hander into Kobayashi hairpin. You can see the lovely sort of flicks of the rear wing here. Jaboulet all over the back of him, but like you said, Kidd just bends him off once again. That's one of the best places to overtake, really, is through that corner there, and the next being the chicane in a couple of corners' time. So Jaboulet not close enough. You see the straight line speed of the McLaren's very cool, very fast, giving a nice little stretch of the legs there. Chevrolet not. Oh, and Kidd goes wide. Is that going to let him through? Yes, it does. Another little mistake there. It just shows how much it can cost you, just that small kind of lapse in concentration. The pressure was very much applied to him, and yeah, finally he cracks after a valiant effort for a few laps there.
Yeah, absolutely. I think out of all the corners, that maybe was his weakest one. You've seen him make a couple of little mistakes there over the last few laps as well. So good driving by Jaboulet. Had a little bit of a driver warning, as we mentioned a few laps ago, but he kind of sat there patiently and almost almost pressured Kid into making a little bit of a mistake, and that's what racing's about. There was no contact involved, it just cracked under the pressure.
Yeah, of course, he had that warning just a few laps ago, and knew he had to do it cleanly, so just applied the pressure, and I think that potentially sunk in, or he has just calmed down now after we saw him going nearly into the back of Kid earlier. So actually, these two have had quite a little rivalry throughout this race. But at the moment, Jubilee's the one that's on top of it. So you might be wondering what's going on at the front of the field. Well, let's go and take a look, shall we? So we'll see who's where and if it's changed at all. D. Stallman was in the lead last we looked and still is. Curran was quite close to the back of R. Stallman and still is. So he's hanging in there, Curran. Good effort, actually, isn't it? Pushing nice and hard. And you do get a small advantage from being in the slipstream of other cars. So when we talk about that, if you're new to this sort of thing, what we're really saying is if you imagine the car cutting through the air, the car in front is getting loads of air pushed against it, and the car behind can kind of tuck in through that hole that's been punched by the car ahead a little bit. It has less air pushing against it. Can make it hard when you've got lots of aerodynamics on the car, so big wings and downforce, which these have some, but nowhere near to the extent of the GT3 cars. So that does allow them to run a bit closer together without the aerodynamics being affected quite so much. One of the biggest differences really is a bit less power, much less aerodynamics, and the cars tend to run higher up. More of an actual road going setup, as O'Brien has a full rear view of Hughescombe there, having a look in another Aston Martin, but says no thank you and shuts the door. Nice bit of representation for Ginetta there, a British manufacturer, as is Aston Martin, of course. Two big British brands there, going head to head into 130R, and he makes it work. O'Brien having to yield that time. Not a good place to have to try and go around the outside. Better to just let the car come through like he did. Has a bit of a look on the outside at the hairpin, the other car going defensive of Hughescombe. The timing board will update to reflect this in just a moment as they cross the line. So Hughescombe will move up to 6th and Dan O'Brien down to 7th. And then up in front of them is Reinhold, who we saw having quite a dramatic start to this race, but also his race settling down a little bit. Making inroads into Heath a little bit. It's around the 3-second mark now, probably a bit late in the day to really do much about that. He's not going to gain 3 seconds unless Heath has a big drama. But yeah, good race by Heath, hanging on to 4th. Big improvement from last time out as O'Brien runs wide and drops a wheel on the grass there. And as we said earlier, you don't just pay for that once, you pay for it a couple of times because the tyres get dirty. And then they take a few laps, potentially to fully clear again, depending on how badly you ran off. So if you're just joining us, this is round 1 of our GT4 Series at Suzuka. It's a 4-race championship. It's the top 10 positions that score points. There's a couple of teams in the fray as well. So at the moment, Shiva Garage will pick up a couple of points for 9th and 10th with Kidd and Price. Heath doing well up in 4th, and then one of the other teams, Vegas in Performance, currently 1st and 2nd. You get more points for 1st and 2nd, as you would imagine. So quite a big haul of points for them at the moment. Very good start to their campaign. O'Brien, just a few mistakes. You can see that's just resulted in dropping back a fair bit from Hughescombe in front. Interesting to see what happened with Stees and Klimpson as well in the KTMs. They were having a good little dice earlier on. Is that sort of mid-pack battle? Our race director could click us through to have a little bit of a look. That would be wonderful. Stees and Klimpson in the KTMs. They're both Fellas Garage Racing, so one of the other teams currently outside of the points. Steve's down in 12th at the moment, behind D. Murray, the Super Garage driver. So actually a few of our regulars, Kidd, Price, Murray and Stees, all running in unison at the moment.
Yeah, you can just see there on the right-hand side of the screen that the leader, which I'm assuming is still D. Stallman, is on his final lap. So with 45 or 44 seconds left to go on the clock, he will be on his final lap. Valiant drive from him again. Don't want to do commentator's curse here, but
I think some people might thank you if it did. So you're right on board with the race leader then here in Suzuka, and Ferris wheel in the background just there you can see as part of the amusement park on site. One of the many attractions around Suzuka. There's even a karaoke log cabin not too far away within the grounds. Through Degner 1, drops downhill into the second part of this corner. goes under the bridge where the other part of the track goes, making that figure of 8 layout that we discussed, and then we come up into the fast right, dropping into Kobayashi Airpin, otherwise known as turn 11. Slightly cambered in corner, so you want to make the most of that, get it nice and tight, get the power down, and get a really good exit, because you've got a long run here as you go through the spoon curve, towards spoon curve, and again, this is that corner we've seen a few people run wide coming up, so you've got to get your braking right. Let's see how Stallman does it up front. 10 seconds clear of second place at the moment, so he probably won't be pushing his hardest on this lap, although it still doesn't look like he's going slow, does it, Charlotte?
No, he's always a very, very consistent driver, isn't he? Looks absolutely solid through there. His cars will be running a little bit hot now, but I think he usually tends to be quite on the money with his setup as well.
Yeah, and these two, both the Stallmans, have been putting a lot of time and effort into getting their setups right and practicing earlier in the week, and I think they're even on earlier today. So they do take it seriously, which is fantastic. You know, it's what you've got to do, and it pays off, because every time they're really, really fast. Okay, final turn then. Just come out of the chicane through the last right-hander, and we will be across the line for round 1. Almost there. And it'll be Don Stallman takes the win for round 1 of our GT4 mini-series. And don't forget, round 2 coming up after a short break. So we'll let everyone cross the line. Update on timings in a minute, but let's see where everyone else comes. We've got R. Stallman crossing the line in second. Well done to Roland. Then we have Curran in third. Fantastic effort by Curran. He's quite new to our little group in InGear Motorsport community. He's been quite active on Discord, and lovely guy. So great to see him having a good run. Heath coming in fourth. Well done to Heath. You saw that gap was 3.5 seconds. It's now 2.7 between Ryan Holes and Heath. So Ryan Holes definitely have the pace to be, you know, that little bit further up. But yeah, really good effort. What do you think to race 1 then, Charlotte?
Yeah, I think a really solid race 1. Obviously, we had a few little things there with Jabrile kind of being a bit feisty. He's actually just parked up on the side there. Really, really great effort by Dan O'Brien. Like we said, he doesn't really get the opportunity to spend too much time in the seat beforehand. And it's nice to see races within the race as well. So it doesn't matter where we look at on the grid, there was action happening, which is absolutely fantastic and a great start to this mini championship. So 1 round down, 7 more to go for the guys. So we'll see how it goes.
Yeah, and there's Murray and Steves on your screen there. 2 of our Scots. There's actually 4 Scotsmen, because I'm pretty sure Curran's Scottish as well. He may well now find me and attack me for that if he's not, but I'm pretty sure he was. So we don't necessarily know all of them in the real world, but we've all kind of come together in this little community in our Discord, which is free to join, and we all kind of discuss what we want to race and plans, and it's a real community spirit, and everyone really friendly and just gets on and enjoys the game and enjoys racing, and they even do some other stuff as well. Some of them are into drifting, so they go and play Assetto Corsa with some drift mods. So real, like I say, a nice community spirit then as we watch the final cars crossing our line, smoke going off in the background, checker flag flying there, and got most of the grid that started finishing then, 17 cars. That's a pretty good effort. Do you find in sim racing, particularly with public servers, that you get a lot of people drop out if they don't have the race that they expected to have, which is a shame, but mostly we seem to do quite well. So let's just update you then with timings. So we'll head to the timetable, have a quick look, and to see what's coming up for the rest of the night, and we'll have a short break in a moment. But yeah, so timing wise then, as I said, there's another 30-minute race. We're going to do exactly the same thing again very, very shortly. See some cars sliding around on the screens there in the small screen. So we've just finished. We've got qualifying 2 coming up in just over 5 minutes time, and then race 2 will also be 30 minutes, which will be at 8:55 p.m. So do make sure you stick around if you're going to go and stick the kettle on and make a cup of tea. Make sure you're back ready for race 2 very shortly. We just give the drivers a small chance to cool down, potentially go out and try a different setup change if they want to. They've got, like I say, just over 5 minutes where it will move into a unofficial practice of such, and they can have a bit of a break if they want, have a drink, refresh. Some of them are, quite a few of them are racing in VR, so they don't they don't get much respite, because it does get very hot in VR. It's like a big headset on your face, and yeah, you get very, very hot, a bit sweaty, so give them a chance to have a break, have a quick refresh, and we'll be back racing very shortly. So it'll be interesting to see who can go better, having had the experience of race 1. I think Charlotte Dan O'Brien, as it was just said, didn't have a lot of track time, and he's now just had an extra 30 minutes. So I think that could help him, because he started down in something like 8th or 9th, and he come through to 5th.
No, absolutely. His pace looked really strong through there. So what we could find is that some of the guys start to make setup changes during this break, which does happen. It did look like his car started to get a little bit snappy on the rear towards the end, and looked a little bit unsettled. So it may be that he drops his tyre pressures a little bit because they just got a little bit cooked. Yeah, I think he's definitely one to watch. I also think Heath maybe as well. You know, sort of bit of a boring race for him, really, wasn't it? Good finish in P4, but it would be good to see if he can get up into the mix and into that top 3 position.
Yeah, I think if he can get away with them at the start, then it might just help tow him along. In fact, we might be able to have a little bit of a chat with Heath. I also need to find out. We've had a newcomer who's a friend of Heath come, who's called Dave in Discord, but I've since found out doesn't use the name Dave in the game, which is really helpful from a commentary point of view. So Dave, if you're watching this back thinking, oh, they've not mentioned me, I'm not sure which car you are, so you have to let me know. But we'll see if we can have a bit of a chat with Heath, if race director could maybe get on board with that. We like giving him little tasks to do. And then he sends all sorts of wonderful messages in my ear through the headset. But yeah, we'll have a little chit chat with Heath. If you're watching along in chat, say hello. Oh, Phil Limer's commented. I missed that few moments ago there. Hello, Phil. Welcome back. He was watching last week, or a couple of weeks ago now, for the charity race.
Yeah. Time flies.
Time flies when you're having fun. If anyone else is in chat, say hello. By the way, if a few of you are here right now, something to take note of. We will have a bonus championship point for the driver of the day, and you, the viewers, get to decide the driver of the day. So stick around, because at the end of the race too, you can cast your vote, and if we get 1 vote for one driver, then they'll get the point. If we get 10 votes and whatever, they'll get the point. So I think just a couple of you taking the bit of time to vote for your favourite will help them out quite a bit. So Suzuka threw up quite an interesting race there. I think there was quite a lot of action, wasn't there, Charlotte, throughout the entire pack?
Yeah, absolutely. I've just been very quiet, scribbling down my notes, just so we like to keep a record of what happened in the races over the championship as well.
Yeah, and of course this is a championship now, so we'll be keeping track of points and scoring. Points go through from 1st to 10th. So a couple points for the Shiba Garage team picked up in there. And those are the sorts of things where you might not need to win the race, but actually just scoring points for them will help them out quite a bit potentially later in the season.
Yeah, I think this will be a really good discipline, because I think a lot of the guys in the Discord chat have done racing, and you know, they race all the time, as you guys are doing together, but they've never actually raced a championship before. And there's quite a lot of skill to driving a championship and doing very well and being consistent the whole way through. We are going to do a drop round, so whatever their worst weekend or weekday, I guess, is a Tuesday, is that will naturally get dropped off, and we'll work the points out. But this is where they've got to start thinking week on week now, where are they in the championship? Where do they need to finish? Do they need to play it sensible, or do they just need to go for the lunge to get those extra points that they need? So it's going to be interesting to see how this pans out, and to see if anyone's driving skills and driving style kind of changes as a result of that.
Yep, and the points are actually geared towards 1st, 2nd and 3rd, so there's an incentive there for drivers to go for that move to get a top 3 finish. So 15 points for a win, 12 for 2nd and 10 points for 3rd, and then it drops into 7, 8, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, as you'd imagine. 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, through to the top 10. So one championship point for 10th place, but that, as Charlotte said, that might just be the thing that helps, you know, carry somebody through to that next position in the championship. But really strong, dominant performance by the Stallmans there. I'll be interested to see as well if the weather changes for race 2, because
I've got a hunch it will.
You have a hunch it will.
Yeah.
Danny P, I'm surprised, didn't have it raining before. So reason Danny P's in control of the weather, if you're wondering, is because the game is hosted in a server, so we have a server that people can come and join, and of course that's how we host this. And Danny P has control of that, and Ben also can change the settings as well before the races, so we can kind of choose within the realms of reason what type of conditions we want. If only you had that luxury in the real world, that'd be great, wouldn't it? But yeah, you can set it, and it's still not exactly what you expect. There's still a bit of wiggle room there. The game's almost designed so that you can't perfectly decide everything to keep everyone on their toes, which is quite a cool touch in many ways. But yeah, we'll see if the weather changes. That might throw a little bit of a spanner in the works for some drivers. Just going to keep an eye on chat while we're sat here. Feel free to comment and say hello.
I'm keeping an eye on the Discord side of things as well, just to see. I might drop in and actually ask Danny what the weather is going to be like. see what he's got planned. He seems to be the weather master, which could go in his favour if he needs a wet race at the end of this championship or not. Then yeah, could go in his favour, couldn't it?
You never know. And I know they've practiced a lot in the rain, particularly the KTMs of fellas racing. Clemson and Steez, I know they'll be probably doing a bit of a rain dance right now. Steez particularly loves the rain. Lives very, very north in Scotland as well, so he's probably well used to it in the real world. Yeah, he's got no choice but to love the rain. I'm just going to bring Heath into our little chat and have a chinwag with him. So this is Heath coming in, everyone. Ooh. Mr. Badgers, Heathy Keefy, are you there?
Hello. How do you do?
Hello. We're trying to get you on stream, and I thought I was just going to drag you up and talk to you.
That's cool.
Hopefully people can hear you this time.
Hopefully.
But we'll assume that they can for the minute. Phil's said hello in chat again.
Ah, howdy. Hello.
And that looked like a good race for you, mate. Up into top 4 or top 5.
Yeah, I'm actually really surprised because I've been struggling in testing like with the Audi because like I'm totally new to the MR layout, so it's been a bit of a struggle. But I don't know. I've just kind of got my head down with it and just took a gentle approach, just trying to nurse the nose in and then get on the power a bit later rather than with the front cars. And then, yeah, I've just really gelled with it in qualifying. Like I pulled out a great PB, which I was really surprised at. And then I managed to keep similar kind of pace. Like I noticed consistency was there during the race. So I managed to stay where I was, which was really pleasing for me. It was great.
Yeah, no, really good effort. And there was a lot of kind of chaos and stuff going on around you. So like you say, just keeping your head down and nose clean pays off in the long run, which is cool.
Definitely. Yeah, there was a couple of questionable drivers at the start there, getting a bit touring car driver on me. You know, it's GT racing. Where's the gents gone? But, you know, just like I said, just kept out of the way and just cracked on.
And do you know at all what Danny Price has got planned weather-wise for race 2?
There's going to be some rain on the way, looking at the GPS, definitely. It's about to start raining in about half an hour. So yeah, just got to keep eyes on the horizon and see what's going to happen track temp-wise as well. That's going to be key.
Yeah, and that's a big part of it, isn't it? So if somebody's watching and they have no idea why track temperature is important to how you drive your car, maybe just let them know why. What would that change for you if the temperature of the track's colder, say? Yeah, and I know Steve's particularly quite likes a bit of drifting, so we're looking forward to seeing that. Cool. All right, mate. Well, I'm sure you probably want a quick break or to maybe test something out before you get going. So I'll pop you back with the rest of the game and we'll catch up with you later. Cheers. See you in a bit. Yeah, and I think we had a bit of difficulty with the audio on stream there. So apologies for that if you couldn't hear Heath the whole time or us. But I think Ben's working on it in the background. I can hear you, Mr. Race Director. He's talking to me in my ear. Okay, everybody, we're going to just leave you with the timetable for a moment, and as I say, sort of short, few more minutes, and we'll be heading into qualifying 2 in just a couple moments' time. Hello, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. We are now racing ready for race 2, or qualifying ready for race 2, I should say, for round 1 at Suzuka. So race 2, round 1 of our GT4 mini series. Drivers get 2 30-minute races, and you will see it's very, very wet. Danny P's done the rain dance in the server and created some rain for us to mix things up a little bit. 19 cars currently out qualifying. We'll see how the Stallmans get on in the rain. I don't think we've seen that yet, you know. We've had light rain in some cracks, but yeah. First time for a wet race in quite a while. The last one for us was GT3 at Silverstone about a month and a half ago. So the guys don't do an awful lot of time in the rain, but I know a couple of them love it. I did say that Fellas Garage, Fellas Racing, Clinton and Stees, they will be loving this in the KTM Cosmo GT3 full car.
So just quite interesting. So I've actually jumped into the guys' Discord chat and just to pick up on the point that you just said there about Dom, and we haven't actually really seen the Stallmans do much wet weather driving at all. It sounds like he's struggling a little bit. I can't say that the boys aren't sounding too upset by that.
So on your screen at the moment is El Sharman, Liam, who's a member of the Discord. He's recently joined. This is his first weekend with us. Friend of Heath's. He was actually watching on the live stream last week. So the very bright pink and sort of turquoisey coloured BMW there. He's definitely designed that to stand out. Rounding the 130R in the rain. And going a bit wide with it. So, rain is very, very tricky in this game. It's tricky in the real world in a GT3 car or GT4 car, but in the game as well, it can be very, very difficult because you don't always have that sort of seat of your pants feeling that you get in the real world in a race car when you're doing it in a game. You know, there's little movements. Unless you have a extremely expensive simulator, maybe, then you might be all right and you're actually racing from McLaren F1's development centre or something in their simulator. But yeah, for most of us, particularly Curran in his desk under the stairs, he'll be, you know, not getting a lot of feeling through the car. You get a bit of force feedback on the wheels as Liam goes straight out there. We've definitely picked the best time to join onto him, but bless him, because he actually had quite a good race, I think, in the first one.
Livery looks absolutely amazing. Just have to put that in as well. I'm slightly biased towards this car now. I think that looks amazing.
You won't miss it.
No, 100%. The guys are actually just talking in the chat at the moment. They're planning their setup in qualifying. So that shows how some people are sitting quite quietly and just sort of chipping away, and they've got their setups. So like you say, Tim's doing the KTM. You can see there that he's just kind of putting the times in, where the Shiba Garage boys are all over this chat at the moment, trying to get their setup right in qualifying. So they've only really got 10 minutes left to kind of get.
Oh, there's a car in the middle of the road there. Yeah, not really the best time to be trying it, but it's still, I guess, better to do it in quali than the race, so they'll be making last-minute changes. Saw one of the KTMs going through on your screen behind Sharman there. What would be good if we could ride on board with somebody towards the front end, you'll actually just get a bit more of an idea how wet it gets, like this in the game. Remember, the standing water and the spray that then comes off of it can be pretty tricky. So there is Liam there on your screens at the moment. And if you think it's bad looking at it in the game, it's sometimes even harder when you're actually the one trying to do it and drive. Try and look for the braking markers. Try and look for the curves and the turning in points, and try and spot those little bits of detail while you're hurtling along at 150 miles an hour. Coming into Spoon Curve there, very slippery if you one ride. You don't want to do that. So those painted white lines and sort of green-looking astroturfy stuff, that's very slippery when wet. So you don't want to be touching it if you can, and it's sometimes enough to send the car into the spin. Charlotte, I think, potentially getting out of the way for somebody here, or just using a bit of grass.
Whatever floats your boat.
Maybe he's picked up some sponsorship from Flymo, giving the grass a little trim as he runs through. That one tickled the race director in my ear. He had a little chuckle. He's also here to laugh at my jokes when no one else does. So we're coming into the last corner then. You can see very difficult. There's a car in front of him now as well, so you can just get a bit more of a view of the spray and just how little you see. Imagine that in the real world when you're hurtling along at high speeds. not knowing if there's something stopped stationary in front of you. It takes some serious bravery to get one of these things around a racetrack properly. Of course, you have the luxury of a reset button when you're doing it in the simulator, so it lets drivers just push a little bit too hard sometimes. Looking very cautious here, still finding his feet. Does anyone have a time on the board yet? That's what I want to know. We're nearly halfway through qualifying. So we've got a couple. R. Stallman's put one in, a 2 minute 34.8. And then the next time at the moment, 3.7 seconds slower is Steve's. Steve's, I almost guarantee won't have done a proper lap yet. That will probably have had a moment.
Now we've actually seen Arsenal, so the far out, the far side hero, do act very well in the rain before when Dom it wasn't as dominant as what he normally is. So it'd be interesting to see if this is going to give Arsenal the edge, because that's quite a big gap between the two of them there. 5 places, that's not normally the way that they are positions on the grid, that's for sure.
Yeah, and I think at the minute it'll just be listing some of it in game order, i.e. the order they joined the server usually. So they haven't posted a lap time yet, a lot of people. So positions you can disregard quite a few of them. It's only actually first and second that have posted a lap time, which is Stees and Stallman. But yeah, plenty of cars now lapping, so they'll probably start coming through thick and fast. And just like in the real world, if you run off or you potentially cut a corner or something like that, then the game will discredit the lap altogether. So you could potentially finish qualifying without having posted an actual lap time. So that's how that can happen. The cars are all out there, but they're not posting lap times because they're all having moments and going off. So
yeah, and as you say that, I can hear in my ear that the is it Murray in the blue Aston Martin, his
Yep.
lap just got invalidated there as well, because you could see as he was running out on the exit, he was 4 wheels over that white line. So it's easily done.
Charlotte's just kind of become our Ted Kravitz in the pit wall, listening to all the radio comms.
I'm the nosy one.
Because our drivers are actually all in a channel, so they're chatting away while they race, talking about setups, talking about lines, positioning, any tips they can help each other out with, and it's always good for the race as well, because they can then let each other know what's going on around them. It's quite hard to see, as you saw when we were riding on board a minute ago, it's hard enough to see what's in front of you, let alone what's behind you, while you're trying to pick an apex out at 100 miles an hour. So quite handy to have other people that can just kind of let you know if somebody's going up your inside or they're still there and so on. And that's all part of our InGear Motorsport Discord. So if you go to InGearMotorsport.com, there's a link to go through and join that if you'd like to come and say hi. And if you play the game on PC, then you can come and get involved as well. You can come and join our different races and events that we do. This is round 1 of our GT4 series, but you can still come and guest drive in the other ones. So finding the space in the server, you can come and join. And you don't have to do the entire championship. The drivers, as Charlotte started saying earlier, will also benefit from a dropped score format. So if they can't make a race, or some cars spinning and going off all over the place, yeah, if they can't make a race, then they will be able to drop that score. Every driver's worst score gets discounted, so kind of gives everyone a second life as such if they have a bad race. Which I think Dan O'Brien will be making use of for this one, as he's sitting out race 2 after a very strong effort in race 1 actually. And the Ginetta, I think, would have done quite nicely in the rain.
Yeah, it would have been
good to see that.
absolutely, yeah, it would have been mega in the rain. Really, really solid car.
Absolutely soaking wet. As can happen in the real world at Suzuka. Can have some real flash thunderstorms that drivers have to deal with, and sometimes to the point races get rained off. But we don't have to worry about that here. The drivers will just carry on no matter what.
Keep calm and carry on, they say.
And look at that then, Steve's now posted a time 7/10 off of Stallman. So D Stallman currently ahead of the 2 Stallmans. R Stallman down in 5th. D Murray in 4th. Kidd in 2nd. Now Kidd's just gone faster. He's actually 100th quicker than Steve's. So on your screen at the moment, 2nd, 3rd, 4th are all Scottish drivers. So in their natural element now of the rain. Loving life, as we'll see. We've got a few people watching across different chats. Again, please do say hello. Let us know who you think your money's on for the race. I think we've got quite an interesting one shaping up here. Tell your friends, get them on as well. And Charlotte and I can see the chat, so if you say hello, we can see it. And there'll be a vote at the end of this, so please, when the race is over, don't just click that little X and close the window straight away, because you'll be able to vote for the driver of the day and they will get a championship point. So I'm hoping at least one person sticks around long enough to say a vote for a driver, otherwise there'll be no point awarded. So we'll see who that goes to. Kid, very strong lap there. That's quite cool to see actually the difference the rain's made. It's really shook up the grid order. We've had another member of the public join Branko in a Porsche. And the other interesting thing, Chabule's back, look, in the big Chevy. He's now up into second. He's only a 10th off of Stallman. It's going to be a very interesting turn one at this rate. In fact, it's going to be a very interesting race. At least now the top 5 are all in the same second. There was a bit of a jump between the 2 leaders last time.
Yeah, I think that's something very much that you find in wet conditions, especially wet conditions such as this in such an extreme version, is that it does actually level out the playing field and level out the cars a little bit more.
Yeah, and it's something some drivers literally pray for that reason, because if your car's not quite as competitive, like Charlotte says, that can just give you that chance you need to get up there.
Yeah, I think one of the last times that me and you raced together in an endurance race, we were both out there doing the rain dance together, wasn't we? Praying for rain.
Yeah, we're struggling a little bit for engine power, I think, weren't we?
Yeah. Now.
There's the bright pink and turquoise BMW getting out of the way of Sharman there, letting the McLaren come through with Van Hilton.
Love that.
What a great name. Dutch by the sounds of it. And he's an orange car. And he went off into the gravel. But it's okay because it's qualifying, so he loses that lap, but he's got an opportunity to go and do another one.
I think there's going to be an awful lot of changing along the order of finishing and positions, because you can see at the moment the guys are really struggling to hook a single lap up together. So it's going to be about just taking it easy and being consistent, and I think this is the definition of points mean prizes rather than just trying to do the late minute lunge everywhere. It's going to be who can stay on the track.
Yeah, and he said it just now, keeping your nose clean and being consistent is the name of the game, and that's kind of tripled in effect really for the race. And if you're new to this, we've got a 30-minute race coming up after this qualifying session, which there's 1 minute and 20 left. So the drivers will head onto the grid, do final setup tweaks, and then it will be on to the 30-minute race. The game simulates a race weekend, so the qualifying session will be kind of earlier in the day and the race in the afternoon, or depending on timings, an hour or two later. So the way it should work then is that the weather won't be too different for the race. So we shouldn't see a bright sunny track in a minute, but it has been known to do a couple crazy things here and there. One of the Sheba Garage cars going through, Danny Price. There's the man to thank for this weather. Loves a bit of rain.
Loves it, yeah.
Although not as much as some of the others, down in 11th at the moment. I'm still getting used to seeing the livery on a McLaren, because these guys use the Aston Martin normally.
Yeah, and again, I'm listening, like you say, I'm listening into the conversation, listening to what the guys are saying, and they're desperately shouting out at the moment, saying, "Can anyone help me? Like, what can I do to give myself more traction?" So the BMW is really struggling with traction at the moment, but he's got a lot of bottom end torque, so that's where he's going to have to start thinking about adapting his driving style and start thinking about short shifting a little bit more.
So qualifying's just ticked down to 0. That means cars that are on a hot lap at the moment can finish it. So it doesn't mean it's over just yet. Let's have a look back at the sharp end, please, and see if that's going to change. That's what it's all about. So we had a change then.
Oh, wow.
But let's go Bu Ahmed. If you wonder why I don't necessarily know the correct pronunciation for everyone, it's because there are members of the public who can join and nick those last couple of slots of the server that our regulars have left free. So Stallman pipped to the post at the moment and is in the pits as well. So D. Stallman can't do anything about that. Bu Ahmed's taken the pole in the Porsche as well. So we've got a different car at the front of the grid now this time round. Jabrila hanging on to 3rd, Kidd in 4th, Steez in 5th. A couple cars left to finish their lap. We'll do a full look through the grid order just before the race starts in a moment. Who's still on a lap? Steez is still finishing a lap, and Jabrila is still finishing a lap. Jabrila's just crossed the line. Oh, we've had another one. A So Podders Skrillex, what a name. Podders Skrillex, Bu Ahmed and Stallman. Okay, well I think that's it for everyone's hot laps at the moment. There may be a nice little change, but we're going to go to a quick advert for our Discord and we will be back with you in just a sec. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. We're ready and locked into a wet Suzuka for round 2 of our GT4 series, the InGear Motorsport GT4 series that is. We've had race 1, the Stallmans were dominant, but we've had a couple of newcomers join in at the last moment to ruin their day. So on your screen at the moment you can see the grid order of Podders Skrillex, who come in the KTM last second, literally with a couple of minutes to go and posted that time. Then we've got Bu Ahmed in the Porsche, D Stallman, our previous race winner, in P3. Boulay 4th, Stees 5th, Kidd 6th. So the two of the Scots there, and Curran also behind them, 7th in an Aston Martin as well. Heath in the Audi, so good solid qualifying performance for Heath there. Branco's another member of the public who's joined. Murray's one of our regulars. Then Garcia behind him, another couple McLarens and Aston Martins. Price behind him. Clemson down in 13th, Stallman 14th. That's our Stallman. Bit of a difference for him. He was P2 or P3 in the first race. Grasso, Heaney, Sharman, our latest newest comer to the server, D Ryder in a Ginetta, Kruger 19th in the Chevrolet, and Van Wyk 20th. We've got a very wet track. I think we're in for a bit of an exciting one here, Charlotte.
It's going to be an exciting one, yeah. I think one to watch out for is actually Danny Price was setting a lap, made a little mistake on the last corners, so he's definitely starting somewhere further back than potentially what he could have been. He was about 7/10 up at one point, so yeah, bit of a qualifying for him, so we'll see what happens.
A couple cars not looking like they're starting quite in the best way there. A few people out of position. The game lets the cars ghost through each other, as you'll see, so don't panic if you see cars inside each other. That's kind of normal, which is a weird thing to say, but that'll only be until they cross the start-finish line, and then everyone is racing with full contact. At the moment, they've just got to maintain a sensible pace, relatively close to the car in front. There's a little on-screen graphic that guides them how to do that. And a couple of people, I think, didn't quite pull away quick enough, so it just shook the order up a little bit. But I think we're kind of settling down. So on the left, then, you've got the KTM, the bright yellow KTM of Podders Skrillex. Sorry, the Porsche of Mohammed. And then you've got Podders Skrillex on the right, the blue and yellow KTM. Light's about to go green any moment, and we'll be racing for round 2.
Green light, green light. Go, go,
Green
go.
lights, we're racing for round 2 of our InGear Motorsport GT4 series. Everyone getting away so far, so good. The Porsche getting a really good run down into turn 1 of Podders Skrillex. The KTM close behind him there, coming in, everyone getting through, giving each other a lot of room actually. Jaboulet we saw having some very aggressive moves in race 1. He'll be looking to get through, currently in third, the sort of brown and blue coloured car that you see down there, the Aston Martin of D Stallman in the mix as well. Front 4 is getting a small little gap off the guy in 5th, but everyone looks like they've got through relatively unscathed. A couple of cars running side by side further back, but the sort of front 10 at least all looking very nicely done.
Yeah, I think it's important to mention here as well that the guys are talking to each other, and certainly the guys that are in the Discord chat are talking to each other the whole way through. Talk about about, are you behind me, where are you, because there is that sort of lack in vision that's going on at the moment because of how wet it actually is. This screen doesn't show how wet it is for these guys out there at the moment.
Yeah, and you've got the spray from the other cars flying up into your windscreen, making it really hard. D Storman having a bit of a look on the outside of Giroulet there. Giroulet going wide onto the AstroTurf. It's very slippy that, you get less traction, but actually D Storman thinking the better of it for a lap 1 move. Again, just showing the sense that he has, or the sensibility he has as a driver not to be going for silly moves on lap 1. All getting a bit tight at the hairpin as our stream very conveniently starts to flicker. I think we had a couple of cars going very close, but still you see Giroulet and Stallman following along nice and closely. That's given the front two a bit of a cushion now. So still, Mohamed is currently in the lead. Skrillex second. So Porsche, KTM, Chevrolet, Aston Martin, McLaren, all different top manufacturers in the top 5 so far.
That's really good to see. It's really, really good to see all different manufacturers up there. So, and it's not just such a one-make series, which we know some series can be.
Absolutely. And obviously it's a long way to go, but there's a good points haul for Shiba Garage at the moment, and Steve's up in 6th is good as well. With Arstallman being out of the points, that could be a chance for them to bring some points back. So that's the great thing about this being a championship. There will be a consistent go of points. So look at this, we've got a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 car train with Stallman on the back of it at the moment. Kid will be fancying a little bit of a go at that in his McLaren, looking a bit wide there from Stallman. So there's your top 4 at the moment. Mohamed has held on to his lead, taken the lead from Skrillex in the KTM. Giroulet having a bit of a look on the inside, just letting him know, hello, I'm here in the mirrors, also ducking out of the spray for a second. That'll help him just make the other guy know that he's there and putting pressure on. D Stallman still behind him, not finding a way past yet, but certainly had a couple looks on the opening lap. Then you've got Kid behind him in the McLaren there, and then a little bit of a gap dropping you back to Steve's in another KTM. So Steve's member of Fella's Garage, Clemson's also a bit further down. Heath up into 7th, so he's gained a place over Curran.
Oh, and just hearing there in my ear that Curran's had a little bit of an off back there, so I'm wondering if we can have a look back there. It's sounding like he had a little bit of a love tap by the Porsche.
Yep, so that's Branko. Curran's just in front of him by 9/10. Oh yeah, he's now fully off the timing screen. So that was a big spin then, costing him a lot of time. Unlucky for Curran, had a very good race 1. So not such a good race 2. Again, this is where the consistency will start to play in, even from our first race night. See that nice little gaggle of cars there, also having a bit of a squabble with each other, trying to find a nice sort of rhythm to settle into. There's Murray just in front of the sort of bluey coloured car on your screen there. You see a little Shiba Garage on the side, sort of blue and green colour. Price having a bit of a look at him, I think. So them two are teammates. Murray just joined the Shiba Garage team. Price having a bit of a look there. Notice how Price touched the white line on the outside under braking. Didn't slow down so much and ended up going wide through Spoon Curve, costing him a couple places there. That's let Grasso and Roland Stallman come through on his inside. Takes his time rejoining the racing line, which is very sensible, especially at this early stage of the race. He can get them back later potentially. No point cutting across people right now. When the car's under load going through a corner, you don't want somebody rejoining straight across your nose, which you can't do much about it. 2 abreast into 130R. That was a nice little tense moment there, but everyone looked like they made it through nicely. Murray coming into the chicane then. Oh, that squabble carries on behind us. Grasso had contact with, I think, either Roland Stallman. Yeah, it was. And you actually saw there, he didn't just teleport. He's had enough of that Grasso and has left the game.
I think that was.
I know
quite
he went
lucky.
to the pits.
I think that was quite lucky because it looked like that was going to have a 3 or 4 car pile up there.
Yeah, that was probably quite good timing. Don't forget, these guys are sat in a cockpit with a windscreen. They might have windscreen wipers, but the spray is such that it makes it very hard to see things, even a brightly coloured KTM as such. We just saw as our Stallman having a bit of a nightmare there.
Yeah, he seems to be really struggling in this in the rain actually. So I kind of need to take back what I was saying in the qualifying originally. It looks like he's really, really struggling. Him and Dom are running on exactly the same setup as well, which is something to know about that. Something that they have spoken about in the Discord. So interesting to see that. So maybe Dom has done more time in the rain on this circuit than what Roland has. Who knows?
And you see Jaboulet still very much under pressure from D. Stallman, which is still very much keeping Kidd within striking distance. Steve's all over the back of Kidd as well. And then Steve's has got Branko on the back of him. So as we enter into halfway through lap 2, still plenty of action going on, and everyone very much in contention. And this 5-car train looks like it's about to become a 7-car train, the way everyone's carrying on. Fantastic effort so far by everyone at the front end to keep it nice and clean, but very close racing as well.
Yeah, I think it's certainly something that we wasn't expecting sat here. I think we was expecting a few cars at the front end to go off, that's for sure.
Quite handy, we've got a bright yellow Porsche at the front, makes it nice and easy for us trying to pick it through the spray. That's Ahmed on your screen there, and then Podoskrillex behind him in the KTM. Jaboulet in the brown and blue, big looking Chevrolet on your screens, going through, running 2 abreast with D. Stallman. D. Stallman looking like he might make it stick this lap actually, coming through on the inside of that corner right now, the Aston Martin. Just about to see the aftermath of that in your background there. Jaboulet hanging on to him. No, Stallman makes it stick. Jaboulet nearly held it, but didn't quite. That'll be Stallman released now to hunt down first and second. Just notice how that one overtaking manoeuvre has just created that gap between second and third. That's the price you pay when it comes to overtaking. And there's another skill set there, overtaking cars without losing too much time. It's sometimes also a reason why a leading car should sometimes not put up too much of a fight for other cars, because you just bring everyone else. There's another 2 abreast heading into turn 1 in the background there. That looked like it could have been Steve's on Kidd, potentially.
Yeah, and Heath was put his nose out quite a bit there. Heath is absolutely determined to get past Steve's back there.
I think if we could drop back a couple cars, there we are, race directors on it, look. There's Steve's in front of Heath. Steve's being the white and yellow KTM on your screen, Heath the red and white Audi, and Kidd just in front of them both. So I think Steve's had a look in the background just now, and it didn't quite come off, and that's given Kidd a bit of a buffer to the next car ahead. Branko still putting the pressure on with Heath. We'll have to stop and catch the breath after this because there's action happening all over the place. See D. Murray inside the top 10 as well, the other Shiba Garage car. So you've got Kidd in 5th, Murray in 9th. There's a couple of points for Shiba Garage right there. D. Stallman currently in 3rd after winning race 1. That's another good set of points if he can hang on to it. Looking fast enough though that he could actually get into the lead. And look at that, the front 4 have closed back up again. You just saw it in front of your screen as well.
Yeah, you can actually see there as well that the P1, that Porsche, that bright yellow Porsche that's up in the front, he's actually looking like he's slightly slower on pace, and he's starting to back the rest of the team up again. You can hear the guys talking about it in the Discord chat. It's quite good having them feed information, because obviously they've got a different view to what we have a lot of the time. So I'm wondering if we can just go right to the pointy end of things just to see what's happening there. Because yeah, you can see that he's really starting to back the guys up there, and that KTM in 2nd position is all over the back. He's only 3 tenths off.
Yeah, I'm going to put a request in here to go on board with 2nd place so we can actually see his point of view. That would be quite interesting. You get a bit more of a sort of driver's eye view here as he runs wide. Look in that mirror. That's, you know, he'll see a bit more than what we're seeing, but not much. And in that mirror, he's got to try and pick if somebody's having a look at him while he's trying to have a look at the Porsche of Ahmed in front. So Podoskrillex doing a nice clean job so far, but yeah, that little mistake just cost him 4 tenths to the car ahead. Notice the car ahead going to the right, he stays left. That gives him a bit of a clearer view, less spray. The other reason that's probably happening is there's a dry line starting to appear. As D. Stallman just looks like he has a GT3 car and outbrakes himself and gives the space straight back again. I was about to say, if you look, there's a slightly drier line appearing on places of the track. So the sort of slightly darker colour versus the shinier bits. That'll have more grip, but also the tyres, the wets will start to get hot very quickly. So you saw Blue Ahmed actually moving across onto the wetter part of the circuit, probably trying to cool his tyres. Yes, this is a game, but actually it's simulating all of that stuff. So that may well be what he's struggling with. He might have his car still on full wet setup, but his tyres are starting to sort of ring some alarm bells for him. As Podoskrillex making a look then as we go up the hill, heading towards Degner Curve. Look at that, Blue Ahmed out. Oh, he's just touched the grass. Can he get it stopped for Degner? Yes, just. He's holding it. He's done a good job of actually stopping the car there so that the 2nd place car, Podoskrillex, couldn't duck underneath him. See where the track crosses over there with that view. That was a nice chance to see that. D. Stallman now got his work cut out for him if he wants to make it a double race win tonight. Fantastic racing by these guys so far on this front four, though, isn't it?
Yeah, it's absolutely fantastic job. These are really, really tricky conditions. If we just now start to take a look at P5, 6 and 7, they're actually talking to one another because they were starting to have a bit of a touchy battle while the top four was as well there. So they're kind of talking to one another saying, look, guys, I'm coming through, give me space.
And we've got Nobody Likes Dave in the chat, which has now really confused me because that's who I thought was Liam. He said, go on, Kirk. Come on, Liam, you can do better. So we've got double Nobody Likes Daves going on at the moment. Hello, Nobody Likes Dave, except us, because you're back once again. Good to see you over on YouTube. So that's Neil Kidd on your screen at the moment. The sort of dark grey and yellow, still say Aston Martin because that's what he normally races. He's in a McLaren this weekend. It's race weekend, I should say. Obviously, it's a Tuesday night in the real world, but we don't care because we're in Suzuka in Japan in the pouring rain, having a great time. As I said that, my screen cut off. That's fantastic. We can watch the viewer's version slightly behind. Let me see if I can get my commentary box back. This is where you can now see what's going on and I can't. We get it about 20 seconds behind the commentary feed, but yeah, we'll keep an eye on it as best we can. There we are. I think we're nearly back up and running in commentary box.
Yeah. Again, just listening to the guys here in the background, what they're starting to say is that they can start to see a dry line starting to form over there. So this is where it's going to be. Who's brave enough to start to explore where the grip is on the track? This is something where if you've got real world racing experience, and I don't like to use that phrase too much, but real life racing experience, so something that you see a lot of the guys pick up from the karting days, that you have to find where that grip is. So if you're going to stick to just the same line now, as this race starts to, I don't think it's going to be, well, it's definitely not going to be completely dry. It's still going to be pretty wet, but there is that dry line forming there as well. And this top battle of P1 to P4 is still keeping as tight as ever, but actually P5 and 6 have now jumped onto the back of that, so you can see that Kidd, we've got the KTM, and just trying to see who that is behind it as well. I think we've got Heath somewhere behind, and then we've got a crash from the Porsche and KTM. So if we can get the cameras to jump to that from track director,
so first and second just had a big incident. Race director's actually trying to sort out the stream at the moment. I think you can see Neil Kidd on your screens, and you kind of caught bits of that, but we're having a bit of an issue in the commentary box. We'll get it back up as quick as we can. Let's hope Neil stays on track while he can't access that to change. Oh, there we go. We've got a bit more of a change. So that's put D. Stallman back in the lead. So that was a bit unfortunate for Buhamid and Podoskrillex that they had that bit of contact going into Kobayashi hairpin. It looked like. So we're kind of watching on and off. We're now probably about 10-15 seconds behind on commentary, but like I say, we will do our best to get that fixed for you. And we are back up and running. So, sorry about the technical issue there. I know you still saw it on your screen, so at least you didn't miss too much of the action.
We'll just pick up where
just us poor commentary box that lost our view for a moment. So, Jaboulet now in second, and D. Stallman has taken the lead. He's got about a second gap. Buhamid will definitely be trying to make up for that, and Podoskrillex. Very likely that they had a bit of a racing incident in these sort of conditions. It's so easy to just snatch a break under braking and go a little bit too deep and then hit the car in front, or just clip them because you didn't see them. But they're still together, and it looks like they've got the opportunity to take each other out if they wanted, and they're not. So they're obviously trying to now recover and get back up to that front pack. Hopefully that hasn't robbed us of too much of a battle, and that Stallman will still have a bit of a fight taken to him by the end. But it's definitely moving into D. Stallman's hands a little bit, I think, track condition wise. These guys did look like they were struggling a little bit. Or certainly Buhamid did out in front, didn't he?
Yeah, I think this is where Heath, as he was saying in the break, he's just going to kind of sit back and watch, because the Porsche there of Muhammad and the KTM, that blue and yellow KTM, they're driving very, very aggressively. They're playing quite a dangerous game here in conditions like this. They just need to put their head down, crack on and work together and put themselves back up near Steve's in P4 and Neil Kidd in P3. So if Heath just kind of holds fire, hands back, and kind of watches the carnage unfold, this could actually end up in a really, really good result for him. Same as what he had in that first race, really strong result.
Yeah, good results for the Drivers' Championship.
Yeah.
Somebody like R. Stallman that was on the podium in the last race is now out of the points in this race. He will have 2 point scoring finishes, puts him in a very similar position in the championship that way.
Yeah, I think as well, you're going to see, this is what we were talking about earlier, mentality-wise. Heath has definitely got the mentality that this is a championship and this isn't just a race night.
Yeah, and of course there is members of the public thrown into the mix just to joss it all up a bit more, which is what these two that you're watching now are, Muhammad and Podoskrillex. They're not racing in the championship, although we may see them come back. I hope they do because they're fast. But for them right now, they're on just trying to win a race. And you see there the yellow Porsche of Muhammad once again moving over to cool his tyres. That may pay dividends later in the race. Not many drivers I've spotted doing that. Wet tyres are designed for when it is very wet. Sounds a bit silly to say, but as the track starts to dry like this, there's not as much standing water on the racing line, and the tyre flexes a lot, and as it gets drier, it then actually gets hot very quickly and starts to burn up. And
yeah.
You then lose a lot of grip.
Sorry to interrupt there, but if we could just go to P1 and P2, you can see that Jaboulet was all over the back of D. Stallman.
And having a look as well, a lot of action going on as we head into Degner today, which is a very odd place to have it happen. As Stallman goes very wide. No, that's
sorry, yeah, I'm just looking there. That was my mistake. That's Neil Kidd who's having a really, really good race here.
And Jaboulet's
run a little bit wide, and like you say, that has now cost him so many positions. And I think that's a little bit of Jaboulet just being too aggressive in these overtake manoeuvres.
And we saw that in race one. Went straight on at the chicane. So the Casio triangle chicane, the sort of bus stop style chicane at the end of the lap. Nearly took Neil Kidd out in the process, but that's just put Kidd up another position, or left him to carry on, and it's put Muhammad and Podoskrillex back up a position after their earlier troubles.
Yeah, and I think this is going to spice things up for Heath. Heath again has had, I wouldn't say a boring race again, so I think this race has been anything but boring. The guys are having to handle a lot that's going on, but Jaboulet is probably a little bit quicker, and you can see Heath is starting to push a little bit too hard and starting to run over wide. So is this going to give Jaboulet, who, well, looking here now, he's dropped even further back, so maybe I should stop talking for a minute, because he was on the back of him and going to give Heath a bit of a hard time. But I think it's going to be Dean Murray if it's going to be anyone by the rest of this time screen.
Yeah, you just see him falling down the order there. He's 2.4 seconds behind Heath. The timing screen updates per split. It's not constantly real time, so every 3/4 of the lap essentially. Oh, we've got a car going off in front. Heath getting collected. No. That was D. Murray. Big impact there for Heath. That will definitely have given him some damage. It was quite square on, so he might be able to continue. Looks like he continued quite. There wasn't even a hesitation for going in the pits there. So that was Murray that you saw spinning, also in a McLaren like the rest of the Sheba boys, and Heath coming through. And still this battle raging on a little bit further ahead. I'm pretty sure that was Kidd that you saw with Muhammad. It was Kidd in the McLaren there, running side by side. Muhammad getting past him. Of course, we saw Muhammad had the pace to lead the race earlier, then had that incident. While all this has been going on, that's let D. Stallman pull out a 6-second lead nearly. So the guys are going to have their work cut out for them to bring that back down. We have seen him make mistakes before, but it's very, very rare you get a mistake from Don Stallman. So I'm not so sure that can be rectified now by the rest of these. Muhammad will be doing his best to get back up there, but he's still got to get past Steve's first before he can do anything about Stallman. The rain's still coming down, but like we said, that racing line is starting to dry off a bit more. It takes a lot of rain to really affect these cars in great detail, and it is now moving past that heavy rain into sort of a lighter, greasier racing line. So still very slippery, but definitely drier. And as I say, tyre cooling is now something that has to be considered. Muhammad looks like he's on top of that, number 719 there. The bright yellow Porsche with Kidd tucked in just behind him. both of them going wide that lap through Spoon Curve.
And this is where racecraft comes into this. Kid is watching that car in front. He needs to be picking his eyes up and not looking at the back bumper, because he's kind of following the mistakes that this Porsche is doing. And Neil is a very, very consistent driver normally, and whereas you can see throughout this race that he has been he's been very fast, but he has been making a hell of a lot of mistakes through there. So hopefully Neil can kind of sort of re-zone back in and overtake him and crack on and not get sort of caught up in this too much longer.
Speaking of Neil, there he is on the back of our Porsche here as we ride on board with Emre Ahmed, number 719 yellow Porsche, and Kid following along there. Good drive off of the last corner there for the Porsche, and you can see Neil dropping back a little bit. The spray, although it doesn't look as much as early, will still be kicking up onto his screen, making it hard to pick braking markers. And look, he went in very late there and went a little bit bright. I thought he might have kept going right into the camera then, but he managed to get it stopped. And you'll notice the spray level's changing as we go around the lap. The water is obviously draining off in different ways. I mean, on some tracks, they've actually simulated the drainage systems. I think at Kyalami in this game, there's actually like channels or viaducts almost that take the water away from the track. So, you know, it really is that accurate, Assetto Corsa Competizione, with all these little details. Kid looking very good through the S's, something the McLaren's quite good for, quite a nimble car, good at changing direction. Porsche very well known for traction, and you saw that as they come onto the straight. That was through the Degner there. We'll drop under the bridge in just a second, where the crossover point is for this figure of 8 layout that Suzuka runs, and then we head up now to the famous 130R. Sorry, Kobayashi corner then. We'll be heading to 130R soon. So Kobayashi hairpin, here we are, slightly cambered in. Kid coming right up onto his bumper once again. Very close between these two. You can see Jabule's also got onto the back of Heath on your timing screens as well, so that might be something to look out for as Kid makes a move. Can he make this stick? Thinks better of it, I think. Notice Kid's on the dry line here. That was very close. Kid having to give a little bit of space there, I think, as Buame come back out onto the racing line. This is through Spoon Curve. And now, I was a bit ahead of myself, but now we are accelerating towards 130R. Slightly downhill to start with. Not the easiest of apexes to spot as you approach it, and Buame going defensive, it looks like, but again I think that's actually a bit of tyre cooling going on, and Kid deciding to copy him and do the same. Whatever you do, I can do too. And then we come up to the final chicane. So that gap with Steve's still maintaining around the sort of late 6, early 7 mark between him and Stallman. Be interesting what else can be done there. Let's get a look at Heath, shall we please, everybody? Let's jump down to P5 with K Heath, because there's a bit of a squabble going on there. We can see on the timing board. So Jabule actually just got past Heath, who we saw had a big incident just a few laps ago, going into the side of a car that had spun. No real fault with anyone there.
Yeah, he has got a little bit of damage as well, so to just hear it in my ear, he does feel like he's a little bit of a sitting duck at the moment, and a duck's probably quite relevant for this. So he is suffering with a little bit of damage, so you know he's just trying to maintain position there, but you can see he's in a bit of a sandwich at the moment between the chevrons there. And I think D Murray there, he's kind of praying that that he's going to sort of back this chevron up a little bit, just so they get him in the race there a little bit more.
The big imposing Chevrolet there, just all over the back of Mr. Heath. Heath doing his best to fight him off, but yeah, big car, the Chevy. Audi looks pretty big as well. They're based on the real actual road-going versions of these cars, so that's what GT racing is. It starts off as a real road-going car and then it gets modified a little bit to make it go faster. You see, yeah, D Murray getting involved there, having a bit of a look on Kruger, the car behind Heath. Looks like Jabule's kind of passed him and checked out a little bit. He's a second and a half gone in the space of a lap on Heath. So that releases Jabule to try and hunt down Kid, of which he's only 1.2 seconds behind with a couple laps to go. So that could make for an interesting last lap, I think. We'll keep an eye on that gap. Bu Ahmed is 1.1 off of second place. After all that carnage, I can't actually think who was up in second place without us looking. So we had D. Stallman in the lead.
It was chopping and changing, wasn't it? So that's.
I think it might have been. So Stallman's in the lead and Steve's second. Yes, I thought it was Steve's up the front. Really good race for Steve's. Yeah. But on your screen at the moment is Neil Kidd. We just saw him following behind Bu Ahmed a moment ago. Look at that. Steve's having a battle with Bu Ahmed now, the car ahead. Let's definitely jump onto that one. Bu Ahmed going around the outside and Steve's thinking better than to fight too hard in the rain. But Bu Ahmed goes wide and Steve's back through. Quite a nice little dice. There's 3.5 minutes on the clock. So these two are very much racing each other right now for position. So, Steve's the white and yellow KTM. Bu Ahmed the bright yellow Porsche. Interesting to see who comes out on top out of these two. This squabble definitely has let Stallman get a nice little gap. I think a bit of a lucky escape really for Don Stallman really in that one. It's not he's not out of the woods yet. He's still got a couple laps left to keep it on the black stuff. But
I think though the race win for Stallman, if he gets it, and fingers crossed he will. That was definitely done by that move that was made very, very early on in the start of the race. He committed to it, held it, and you know, and that's just let him crack on for the rest of the race because his pace-wise actually isn't that much faster than the other guys.
No, and Bu Ahmed, don't forget, was 3 or 4 seconds back from Steve's just a couple laps ago and has pulled that right up. Steve's has only dropped back about a second or so from where he was on Stallman, so Bu Ahmed very much the fastest man on the track at the moment. So if it weren't for that earlier incident, he very much could have been taking the fight to Stallman the whole way through. Good race for Kidd though, hanging on to 4th, just 1 off of the podium. These two are close together, so it doesn't take too much to happen, and Kidd will be up on the podium. He's done it before. Monza's a track that he was famously not a fan of, but after an incident between a certain driver, might have been me, and another driver, meant there was a last lap incident and actually Kidd took a second place. Looks like Steve's has got a little bit more of a comfortable gap now, but I think that will allow Bu Ahmed to probably take another run at him at some point. Good point to just remind everyone that's watching that we will be taking votes for driver of the day, so please do let us know. I think we'll probably start opening up that now. If you want to drop us a message in chat, any chat wherever you're watching as it's the final lap, let us know who is your driver of the day because you will give them a point. A championship point. It might be that all-crucial championship point that changes it in the long run. So, watching Kruger there with another battle going on, Murray trying to get past him. Them two have had a little bit of a squabble for the last few laps. But D. Stallman's now on his last lap, so we will check him out in just a second. You see, he's, to be fair to him, through his tenacity of just trying to drag the car home, you're still in P8 on the last lap. So that's a really, really valiant effort after that really unfortunate crash that he got caught up in. So there's D. Stallman, the Aston Martin Vegas Sim Performance team car. His teammate a little bit further down the running order right now. I've just noticed we've still got 17 cars in this race, only a couple of retirements, which is a very good effort for the level of conditions that we have. Rounds the hairpin for the final time, turn 11. Begins to accelerate up through turn 12 into Spoon Curve after that. It's a very tricky corner that. It's a flat out right-hander, but if you go a little bit too wide off line, it's off camber and you get thrown out very quickly.
Yeah, and I think it'll be worth, as soon as Stallman's crossed the line, just popping the camera back to this battle that's going on with Neil Kidd. I can hear him getting quite vocal in the chat there, so I'm not too sure what's going on.
Well, Bu Ahmed is less than a tenth behind Steve, so Steve's got a rear view full of Bu Ahmed right now, but we're waiting for this man to cross the line, a couple of corners to go, and then we'll pick that other fight up. We need 3 cameras going on at once at this point.
Yeah, absolutely.
Race director would love that. He just said in my ear he would love that. No, I can't actually say on live air what he did say. Well, I can because it's the internet. I can say what I want, but I won't. There you go then. Dom Stallman crossing the line to take yet another victory and the second of our GT4 mini-series. There we go. Here's the fight. Buahmed all over the back of Steez. This is what we're waiting for. These two are going to cross the line with a photo finish potentially here. Steez hangs onto it. I think, does he cross the line? Look at it. There's a drag to the final finishing line. They're not quite there yet. Steez. No, he's done. Buahmed's done it. Buahmed's done it. He got through into second right at the line. That was thousandths of a second between them two.
Yeah,
what a finish.
I do think we need to look at that because
Jaboulet?
Yeah, sorry, the yellow Porsche, my brain has just
Buahmed.
Buahmed actually did make quite a dirty move a couple of corners back on Steve, so I do think we need to have a look into that if we can, and I think the race director might actually be looking at putting a time penalty into that from what we can hear has gone on. There was quite a bit of unfair contact that happened there.
Well, now that the race is actually finished and everyone's crossing the line, let's quickly look at it and then we may be able to go on to the replay. But if we have a quick look at the timing screen so you can see who's finished where out of all that chaos that we just had, we can make some sense of it. So there you go, D. Stallman taking the win. Buahmed crossing the line in that controversial last couple corners. We'll take a look in just a moment, hopefully, if we can. Then behind him, Steez third, but maybe second, we'll see. Kid fourth, Jaboulet having a good race after a bit of a nightmare running off the track a few times earlier on. Kruger sixth. D. Murray, great job by him, finishing well inside the top 10 in seventh. Heath, fantastic effort dragging that car home with all the damage after that massive impact at the chicane. Danny Price, ninth. Clemson getting in the points. So points for both of Fellas racing cars in that race, which is good to see. R. Stallman just outside of the points in 11th. Van Wyk 12th. Heaney 13th. Ryder 14th. Garcia was 15th and Sharman 16th. But as they're dropping out of the server, you can see it changing. Right, Mr. Race Director, is it possible for us to jump into the replay and have a quick look at Steve's last lap? Yes, it is. Look at this. I'm steering with my voice now through the stream, viewers. If you haven't commented yet, let us know who your driver of the day was. Please, please, somebody comment and give a point. So somebody gets a driver of the day point in our chat. We've not had any yet. So this is actually what the replay editor looks like. We don't quite have as many people in the background as we'd like we did for our charity stream. So we need to sort of click through with Ben as we watch this. I think that's just after they finished. There you go. So that's the last lap then. That should do us. We're going into the last couple of corners now. That'll do Ben, normal speed. Perfect. Right, so this is a replay. Imagine there's a nice little replay graphic in the top of the corner. And it would have been this very last corner that something happened. Can't say I saw any contact there. Very close, but I can't say I saw anything. Perhaps if we go back and watch that again, look at that, he just got him, that was nuts. If we watch that again from the view of Buahmed, that might help.
Yeah. I think going into the last corner.
Yeah, here we go. So we're going to have a look from the Porsche's point of view. Oh look, Shannon's actually voted for Dan O'Brien. I think that's a fair point to be fair.
100%.
Right, here we go. So we're coming into chicane. And what did they say in the driver's chat, Charlie? Did you hear?
I'm actually just going to
Yeah, I mean, I can't really see anything wrong with that, in my opinion. It was very close, but it's the last lap of a 30-minute race. It's they're going to be trying. I can't see any contact made. Well, so far, ladies and gents, there's one vote for Dan O'Brien, who sadly couldn't make race 2, but did a fantastic effort in race 1 after having little or no practice of the track, and GT4 cars for that matter, to get his car home in the points. There we are. So we'll jump back to the live view. We'll probably find out a bit more about that later. We'll see what the guys have to say for us. Well, the points will be added up and put out onto the Discord soon, and we'll have a look through them when we start next week So this is a weekly series. It'll be running every Tuesday, same time, 7:30 p.m. BST onwards. So please do come and tune in and watch again. Certainly, if there was more action like that, I mean, that was a fantastic race we had just now, and a few little incidents, but given the weather, I thought that was great. Charlotte, what about you?
Yeah, I mean, I absolutely loved that second race. I always used to personally love racing in the rain myself, and I think the guys did a really, really good job, considering a lot of them haven't done that much time in the rain, and as rainy as it actually was, because it was pretty much flooded in areas in qualifying, but actually it was good to see a bit of a drying circuit as well towards the end, because that kind of put a different element into it, and it's good to see who can actually adapt to that as well, and who's starting to push on a little bit and not settle into the normal sort of wet style of driving, if that makes sense. So yeah, absolutely fantastic race, and I think it's a really good start to round one of this mini championship.
Yeah, good stuff by all the guys. Good points there for Shiba Garage, both in the points. Fellas Racing, both in the points. Clemson just nicking a point for 10th place there at the end.
Yeah.
So nice solid result by kind of our core teams. And of course, Vegas Sim Performance, the Stallmans, getting podiums, both of them, in the first race. Stallman taking the win. D Stallman, that is, taking the win in both of the races. But our Stallman missed out on points in race 2. So for the team championship, that certainly will help keep that alive, and you can't always afford races like that too often, but the drivers do get a drop score. So if you missed that earlier on, their worst race weekend, or their, in the game sense of the term, so their worst 2 races essentially will get deducted from the scores for everyone, and that means everyone kind of gets almost like a joker race that they can discount. So that helps as well if drivers can't make it, is one of the other reasons we do that. So if you've been watching this tonight and you'd like to come and join, the server is free to join. We have it running all week for drivers to practice and test. And then, of course, the race nights every Tuesday. We also have some special events, like our charity race that we did just a couple of weeks ago. But yeah, you can come and join. The best place to start is to go to our Discord, which you can join by going to InGearMotorsport.com. And there's a link there to join the Discord and come and get involved. And all the guys are on there. You can chat to them. We have votes and polls for different tracks we want to race and series and so on. So
All very democratic.
yeah, it's a nice, friendly place for everyone to come and meet like-minded racers and stuff. And of course, everyone's mad about cars. So what's not to like? So come and get involved if you'd like to. We've had a couple of newcomers. Shout out just again to Liam Sharman in the, can't see it now, but the bright pink and turquoise BMW that we saw earlier. That was his first race.
Really good effort for him. I think he's had very, very limited time on this game compared to the other guys, so yeah, mega effort by him.
But we'll be back then. We're a little bit behind schedule after all that action tonight, but I do hope you enjoyed it. And as I say, we're back next Tuesday, so do come back. And I'm going to have one last check of the driver of the day vote. No, it's just Shannon that nicked that point for Danny O'Brien. So yeah, good effort there. That's commitment from your girlfriend. Get her on the live chat and vote for her. Hello, Shannon. But yes, goodbye everyone else, as we're going to wrap up. And I think it's Brands Hatch next week. And all going well, I will be racing and you'll be commenting with Neil.
Yeah, we'll see how that goes.
You're smiling in your face as well. Cool. Well, thank you very much, everybody, and we will see you again soon.
Ain't shitty, baby, I'm hot, like the prodigal son.
There we go, green lights, and we're off once again.
Is gone. prodigal son. Bigger, better, leany, meany, money, mo, and flower. You're the chosen one.